In this video, I'm going to discuss and demonstrate how to use the countifs function in Excel. The Excel countifs function returns the count of cells that meet one or more criteria. The syntax of countif is equals countifs open parenthesis range 1, comma criteria 1, comma range 2, comma criteria 2, so on and so forth. Range 1 refers to the first range to evaluate. Criteria 1 refers to the criteria to use on the range 1. And range 2, which is optional, the second range to evaluate. And the criteria 2, the criteria to use on range 2. In countifs, unlike the older countif function, it can apply more than one condition at the same time. Conditions are supplied with range or criteria pairs, and only the first pair is required. For each additional condition, you must supply another range or criteria pair. So you can have up to 127 range or criteria that are allowed in the countifs function. Now let's proceed to the example. Here we have three tables. First table is a data which consists of 4 columns. First column, the list of the salesperson, and second column, the product type sold by each salesperson. Third column is the branch or in which branch the salesperson is assigned. Then the last column is the sales or the total sales of each salesperson. Then on our second table, we have here salesperson, hardware, and software. Salesperson are the list of all the salesperson within this data. And second column, the hardware. So here we will provide how many product type hardware that were sold by each salesperson, Sarah, Joanne, Janice, and Lee, and also for product type software sold by each salesperson. And for this table, it has three columns. First column, the list of all the branches, Cebu, Davao, and Manila. In the second column, hardware, here we will provide how many product type hardware that were sold in a particular branch, and so with how many product type software that were sold in each branch like Cebu, Manila, and Davao. And for the last table, we will provide the summary of how many hardware or software type that were sold for less than 100,000 and that were sold for 100,000 and above. So first, formula should always start with an equal sign. So equals count ifs, so with S, then open parenthesis. So for our first criteria, we will highlight the salesperson column or range since we will be looking for Sarah criteria within this range. So put comma before writing the criteria. So for our criteria, since it is a text value, we need to enclose it with a double quote. So first type open double quote, then criteria is Sarah double quote. Then for our second condition, you put comma. So here again, we have criteria range 1. So range for salesperson, we need to get the salesperson Sarah. Okay? Then for the criteria range 2, since we will be counting how many hardware product types sold by Sarah, we need to highlight the range or select the range under product type sold. So this is the criteria range 2, B3 through B15. Alright, so that is our criteria range 2. Then comma. Then what will be our criteria for the second range? It should be hardware. So we need to get the hardware from this range. So our criteria is hardware. Since it's a text, you enclose it with double quote. Then type hardware. Then double quote. Then since we only have two conditions, we can now close our parenthesis. So again, this is our formula for this cell. So it should return a value wherein it will count how many product types sold by Sarah under hardware. Okay, so enter. So there are two, so that's correct. So Sarah sold two types of Sarah sold hardware two times. So let's double check. Sarah hardware one, Sarah hardware two. That's two. All right. So for the software, still under Sarah, let's type the formula again. Equals count ifs open parenthesis. Our criteria range 1 is the salesperson range A3 through A15, comma. So the criteria that we're looking for under or within this range is Sarah. Then don't forget to enclose your criteria with a double quote, comma, the criteria range 2, which will be the product type range. So that's B3 through B15. Then, comma. So don't forget to put comma in between criterias and range. So comma, then the criteria for this particular range is we are looking for software product type. So double quote, software. Then closing double quote, then closing parenthesis, then hit enter. So we have two software sold by salesperson Sarah. So let's double check. Sarah software 1, Sarah software 2, and yes, we only have two software sold by salesperson Sarah. All right, so how about for salesperson Joanne? So again, let's type equals count if, then open parenthesis. Criteria range 1 again is the salesperson range A3 through A15. Then comma. Criteria we're looking under this range is Joanne. Don't forget to enclose with double quote. Then comma. Then criteria range 2 will be the product type sold. So within this range, B3 to B15 range, we will be looking for the criteria hardware since we are still under the hardware column. Hardware. Then close double quote, then close parenthesis, then hit enter. Okay, so again, the formula consists of equals, count ifs, open parenthesis, range A3 to A15, the blue one, the salesperson range, and the criteria we're looking for within that range is Joanne. And for the second range, B3 through B15, the red range, the product type sold range, and the criteria we're looking for under that range is hardware. Then hit enter. So two. So Joanne sold two hardware. So let's double check. Joanne hardware one, Joanne hardware two. All right. So it's correct. Now let's proceed to the software. Okay, next is software for John. So again, we will be counting how many software sold by John. So equals count. So let's start with equals count ifs open parenthesis criteria range 1 the salesperson comma criteria is Joanne closing double quote comma criteria range 2 the product type column comma, then the criteria we're looking for this time is software. Then closing double quote, closing parenthesis. So always pair your parenthesis with open and closing. So with the double quote with open and closing double quote. Then hit enter. So Joan only sold one software. So Joanne software, let's double check. One. So yeah, only one. All right. Then same with Janice and Lee. So I will just drag down the formula. Okay. So let's edit or modify the formula. because after I drag down the formula or copy the formula, the range will actually increase the number. So instead it's A3 to A15, it becomes A4 to A16, if you notice, because it will increment. So we will change the range. You can either adjust it here or you can edit it here to 3, then 15. See, the range changes back to A3 to A15. And for the second range, it should be B3 to B15. See, it becomes B4 to B16. I can also adjust it here by using this arrow. So drag up to go back to B3, and I will adjust this one so it will only go up to only to B15. Okay, then enter. Now, since in this cell we are looking for John salesperson, and we still have here Joanne since we just copied the formula above, so we will remove this Joanne and change it to Janice. Then hit enter. All right. So you will see this error. It says here inconsistent formula, copy formula from above. So we will not copy the entire formula from above because the criteria and range has changed. So we will ignore error. Okay. Then let's double check. Janice sold two hardware. Janice hardware 1, Janice hardware 2, Janice. So we have 2. Then for this one again, the range, let's adjust it back to A3 and B3 and adjust it to B15 and B15. All right. Then Joanne should be changed to Janice. This is for Janice, salesperson. Then enter. So for the second table here, we will supply a different value wherein for each branch, it should count how many times hardware was sold, and in Cebu branch, how many times software was sold. So let's start with equals, countifs, open parenthesis. Our criteria range 1 will be the branches range, which is the column for the branch C3 through C15, comma, the criteria we're looking for within this range, double quote, which is Cebu. So we're looking for Cebu branch, Cebu. Then close double quote, comma, the criteria range 2. So we're looking for the product type hardware. So product type hardware is within this range. So highlight B3 through B15, comma, then double quote the criteria 2, which is hardware, hardware, double quote, then closing parenthesis. So again, range 1 will be the branch. We're looking for Cebu. And range 2 is the product type, and we're looking for product type hardware. Enter. So there were 4 hardware sales sold under Cebu branch. So Cebu hardware. Okay. For the software equals count ifs. Open parenthesis. The criteria range 1 is still the same, the branches column. So C3 through C15. So within this range, we're looking for the criteria Cebu. We're still under the row Cebu. Double quote, comma. Criteria range 2, the criteria range for the products, product type, B3 for B15, comma. Then the criteria we're looking for under this column now is software. So type software. Closing double quote, closing parenthesis. So here we have first range, the blue one, branches range. We're looking for Cebu. Second range, the product type sold, and we're looking for the software criteria. Then hit enter. So there were three software sold under Cebu branch. Correct. So now since we have already supplied formula for both hardware and software criteria, we can just copy the formula from these cells for the remaining cells in here, and we will just change the criteria for the branch to Davao and Manila. Okay, so let's highlight the two cells, hover the mouse on the lower right corner till the mouse cursor changes to thin black cross, click, hold, drag, and drop. All right, so that's it for this table. Now let's proceed to the last table. So first, let's put equal sign under cell G14, then count ifs, open parenthesis. Then our criteria range 1, since we are looking or we will only be counting how many sales that are under or less than 100,000. So we will highlight these cells, this range D3 to D15. So we are looking for sales within this range with criteria less than 100,000. So for writing the criteria, we will be using the logical operator less than, and since it's a special character, we will still enclose our criteria with a double quote. So less than 100,000, double quote. Next is comma, our criteria range 2. For the criteria range 2, highlight the product type sold, that's B3 to B15, since we will only be counting the sales under 100,000 under product type hardware. So after inserting the range for the product type sold, what will be the criteria? Hardware. Then double quote and close parenthesis. So here we have the first range for the sales, and the criteria we're looking for within this range is less than 100,000 enclosed with double quote, comma. Second range is the range for product type sold, and the type of product that we're looking for is hardware. Then hit enter. So there are 4. And for this condition, 100,000 and above, so it's equals countifs, open parenthesis, criteria range 1, this one. So within this range, we're looking for criteria. It says 100,000 and above. So the logical operator we will be using is greater than or equals, and 100,000 enclosed with double quotes. So this is our criteria for this range. Then comma, criteria range 2, since we're still looking for the hardware product type, highlight all the cells under product type sold, and within this range right here we are looking for the criteria hardware, then closing parenthesis. All right, then hit enter. So 3. So there were 3 sales with 100,000 and above sold under hardware product type. Okay, now we can just copy this formula and copy it going to the right, and we will be only changing the criteria for the product type. that's how you use the countifs function using the text value criteria and using the criteria with logical operators less than, greater than, and equals.